Hello Soldatans and welcome to our Officer Academy, and today we will speak about tactical movement on Company of Heroes 2. So we will learn how to move your troops, so we will learn how to move your foot infantry and also your support weapons in supporting your troops on your tactical movement advance. Before we start, I will mention 5 key points. So first is awareness. Second is plan. Third is spread your force, focus fire. 4. Improvise. And 5. Cover. So by following these steps we will go in and we will start our lessons. Before we do any tactical movement, first thing we do is plan that tactical movement. You must know where you will go and what will you do. Besides your main plan, you should always have an alternative. You should always have a backup plan in case that your first attempt is not really working. Maybe someone occupied the building. Once you have planned, you execute. Here it is really important that while we are trying to execute our plan and while we are working on our plan, we must know our troops, because not all troops will play same way in the same tactic. For example, assault grenadiers will be better in a tactic where we come up close, while the regular grenadiers will be better if we stand longer away. I will not speak much about the troops now at the moment, because at the moment our only focus is to speak about the tactical movement. So again, plan B, execute, possible improvisation. That's important part in this first thing you do before you move. We already mentioned improvisation, so one of the best ways to improvise if you only have infantry troops and you're facing a good position heavily defended by an MG, which is tough to get, it is to draw fire. So once your squads move, if you know that for example there will be an enemy, you can draw fire on one of your squads while the rest of them will move. So in this case, we know where the MG is. We ran right into it. Now we will draw fire by one squad and we will spread the rest of the forces to go there. This is the basic example, but this is also basic idea on how to do it. Spread your force, focus fire. This is one of the best ways to encounter enemy in whichever situation. This way you have your flank covered and at the same time you have your enemy exposed from the flank. Besides that, if your forces aren't bunched up in one single line but rather spread around, it is difficult for enemy to hit your troops or to suppress them. This is probably the most effective way to move your troops and to tactically engage the enemy. We will do that same with an MG. We know that it is inside the building. So we will spread our force and draw fire on one squad. Here we go. Once the battle started, the enemy will fire at the first squad on sight. Now, in realistic terms, the MG will switch fire once your squad is pinned. But since your troops are really spread, they cannot suppress everyone. And only one squad will be suppressed at a time. This gives you an open area for two of your rest squads to move forward and do damage. This also applies to attacking an MG nest, which basically is this fortification. There is also one more thing important when you're facing the tactical movement of your or enemy troops. While we spoke so far how important it is for you to plan and execute and also to improvise when you are making a plan and doing a tactical movement with your troops, it is also important to block enemy attempts or strategies of their own tactical movement. Here we placed a barbed wire to block the enemy pathway. This is important. Obstruct the enemy movement in any possible way so that you have that edge when it comes to tactical engagement. Now we will speak about tactical movement with the help of a heavy machine gun, or MG42 in this case. MG42 or any other heavy machine gun can be used in two ways, offensively or defensively. But what is common for both of those is that best way of using them is a second line, supporting the troops, not being the first line of engagement. This is really important. As we see here, if it is behind the line, the first troop which enemy will see, the first unit, will be your foot troops, and they'll move for your troops instead of for the MG. And once the MG fires, it will caught them unprepared, giving you a free time to fire upon the enemy and giving you an edge in suppressing them. Try not to forget that, because this will be a difference between enemy focusing your MG, which in reality he should, but instead he will focus your units on the field, the foot troops, that way losing the engagement. MG in an offensive tactical movement. How to move MG with your troops? Same way. It is not the first line. First, you plan. You get one squad which will draw fire and scout. Then you will get another squad to flank. And then you will move together with your troops MG behind them to provide support. Same as defensive, but instead of you waiting, you move forward. Also, I would like to mention another possible way of using an MG in a defensive line. Rather than waiting for enemy to come, you can prepare your MG before the enemy comes. So MG can be used as a fallback line, as we can see here. Our troops moved from that wall once they saw that they will be overwhelmed, back and lowered the enemy right into the arc of the heavy machine gun. This is a great way to stop enemy advance of infantry if they are not aware of MG positioning. Once the enemy finished their attack and once they have been repelled by your heavy machine gun, they'll possibly try to outflank you, as we can see here. Because of that reason, it is important to guard your flank either with units or with your MG arc, and try to move your MG. Try not to be a stationary target, because you will die. In the end, this is the tactic which you use with the heavy machine gun. First, it can be used offensive or defensive in your tactical movement. When it is on the field, no matter in which case you're using him, MG is never on the first line. Ideally, it is the second line. When it is using defensively, troops are following MG and can ambush an enemy. When it is used offensively, MG follows the troops. That's the key difference. Now we will mention a second support weapon which we can get from the first roster or first tier, and that is the mortar. Mortar is a great utility weapon which can be most effectively used against stationary target, or in another word, enemy support weapons. Ideal target for mortars are MGs inside the buildings, but also they can be used against MGs on the open. Try to focus enemy support weapons with your mortars and then focus on their troops. From this example here, we can see how to use support weapon. After our tactical column, our tactics have been planned and we start execution, we encounter one conscript and one maxim. The right target for mortar is that machine gun, because it suppresses infantry and does more damage than the conscript. Every time in encounter, when your troops are encountering enemy troops on the field and they have support weapon, for example like maxim, that is your primary target. One of the best ways to utilize the abilities of mortar and your tactical movement and your tactical engagement with infantry is to force enemy support weapon, heavy machine gun, to move by being under constant barrage by your mortar. So the heavy machine gun on his position where it is, he will have to move or he will die by the fire. Once he moves, that is the right time for your troops to move forward and kill him, because that will give you an edge. If you face enemy without heavy machine guns or any support weapons on the field, your mortar will be used against the target with the most damage and the best cover closest to your troops. So in this case, just across the road, there is a heavy cover in which that conscript is. Relative close range will provide more damage for them, and the green cover will provide them with less damage taken. So focus that with your mortar and try to reduce his bonuses. In the end, I hope that you guys enjoyed in this video. I hope that it helped. It is just a basic officer academy at the moment. Later on we will move with much more advanced tips, tricks and advices. If you did enjoy, please like, share and subscribe, because your attention will help this video rise up and it will also motivate me even more to make more of these videos. Besides that, I would like to hear your opinions and advices for any future ideas or regarding this video. Any any constructive criticism will be welcomed, and please be polite. Thank you and see ya.